Hey, remember the movie Ocean's 11? The whole movie was about this flashy, elaborate plan to rob someone. What about Heat? Another flashy, elaborate plan to rob someone. All right, this is the last one. Point Break. It's another one that had a really flashy, elaborate plan to rob somebody. I love those movies and they're fun to watch, right? They give us a clear example of real criminals, desperate young men with nothing to lose. And of course, the robbers are usually suave, young, handsome, pretty people like George Clooney, Val Kilmer, and Patrick Swayze. But those are just movies, fiction. The reality is very fucking different. This is Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Chuck Schumer. Not suave at all, definitely not young, and no one would consider these guys to be handsome or pretty. These are examples of real criminals. Donald Trump robbed Americans of trillions of their tax dollars, paid it all to his donors and employers, and probably kept a little for himself. We call this robbery the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. All Trump did was tell you that he was taking your money and giving it to rich people. You'd like to go to college for free or maybe have your own taxes lowered so that you can catch up on some bills? Why not? We have trillions of dollars saved, right? Sorry, Trump has decided that you don't need any help or relief. He and his rich co-conspirators need that money, so they'll just fucking take it. Joe Biden also robbed the Americans of all their tax dollars. He took billions of your tax dollars and he paid it to some of his donors and employers. The contractors, investors, and builders who constructed the more than 100,000 needless prisons in this country. Instead of using our money to build housing for recent college grads to help them get started, or hell, pay for more advanced hospitals for our aging citizens, Biden just took your money without your consent and gave it to some contractors who, like all builders around the world, paid a small amount to build what they were contracted to build and pocketed the rest. Oh, and Biden probably kept a little bit of the money for himself. That's how a real heist works. Not a flashy plan that involves stuffing a little Asian man inside of carts or jumping out of planes. Just a well-orchestrated one that involves some fear and propaganda. And a well-established, corrupt political system. And the criminals aren't young, desperate men with nothing to lose. They're old, decrepit monsters who leech off of others like vampires. Now, while a real heist may not be flashy or concocted by young pretty people, they are elaborate and involve a lot of people and a lot of smoke and mirrors. Now, this is where I'll probably lose most of you, but hell, let's do it anyways. I don't give a fuck. Here is what I believe to be the most recent example of a big heist. This is the coronavirus.
More on the coronavirus emergency. As fears of a pandemic continue to rise, people are scrambling to stock up on supplies, prompting some stores to start rationing how much you can buy.
Superstores like this one are selling out of these products online and in the stores because of the fears surrounding the coronavirus. There's a run on supplies this morning. Big box stores across the country are seeing the growing concern over the coronavirus here, in the longest lines they've seen in years.
I'm in panic because I went to Costco and there's no water.
These are pictures posted online from various Costco's. At this Publix supermarket in Fort Lauderdale, they were doing double takes over this, seeing a shopper who was either kidding or taking the coronavirus fears very seriously, dressed from head to toe in a hazmat suit while getting supplies at the grocery store.
See, there goes that fear and propaganda I was talking about earlier. It's hard to call this a heist because of the way people have been conditioned, because there have actually been people suffering from this. So it's hard to listen to something that you may feel is minimizing those affected. But trust me, I'm not. This isn't about any of the people who may have contracted this new disease or about the ones who may have died from it. It's about the people using this horrible situation to pull off their heist. Now let's go over some facts first. On January 21st, 2020, we had the first confirmed case of the coronavirus listed in the U.S. About a month later, on February, I believe, 24th of 2020, there were 14 cases listed. And it was at this time that Donald Trump asked for $2.5 billion to combat this crisis. $2.5 billion because less than 15 people got fucking sick. Now, I know you may think I sound heartless, but just keep listening. I'm going to try to explain in a little bit, so just hang on. All right, let's get back to it. Shortly after Trump asked for that huge amount of money, I mean, $2.5 billion is a lot of money. This man, Chuck Schumer, unveiled his plan to take. Well, I guess steal and take can mean the same thing. Whatever. He unveiled his plan to take $8.5 billion from U.S. citizens to attack this crisis. Now, things at this time had gotten worse. I believe there were about 28 more people that got sick, which brings the total up to 42. So Chuck Schumer felt that we needed $8.5 billion to combat an issue that affected less than 45 people. Again, I know you think I'm heartless, but just stay with me, please. All right, let's get back to it. Also, a man passed away around this time too, but he was up in age and he had chronic underlying health conditions. I think the coronavirus just seemed to exacerbate his already deteriorating condition. So let's put aside the genuine empathy that we should feel for the people who are affected by this and try to think about this as, this whole coronavirus thing a little bit more. All right, so just to acknowledge the people that were affected, right now there are over 230 confirmed cases and 12 people have passed away. And I don't want to gloss over that fact. But again, this is about the people using the situation to pull off their heist, not the unfortunate people who were infected. All right, so let me get back to it. I keep jumping out and I got to get back in. So around the time that Chuck Schumer introduced the plan to take the $8.5 billion, less than 45 people were sick. Doesn't that seem strange to you? At the time he requested this money, less than 45 people were sick. This was a while ago, like a month ago or so. And so we need to spend $8.5 billion for a situation that has affected less than 45 people. Doesn't that seem weird to you? No? Well, what about this? On September 21st, 2001, Congress approved a bill that included this fund that was going to help the families of the victims of the 9/11 attacks. Now remember, almost 3,000 people died in those attacks. And there were over 20, what was it? Hold on. Trying to sound professional. Let me look it up real quick. There were over 25,000 confirmed injuries. So that's around 28,000 people directly affected by this incident. And this fund was set up to help not only the injured survivors, but also the families of all the people affected by the attacks. That means the families of about 28,000 people. So if you take the 25,000 people that were injured and you take the families of them and the families of the almost 3,000 people that perished, that means hundreds of thousands of people were supposed to be assisted by this bill. Do you know how much money was to go into this fund? A maximum of $7.375 billion. See, I didn't have to look that up. I had it right in front of me. So let's round up and say $7.4 billion, right? Let's use some logic. To help hundreds of thousands of people, we were going to spend let's say it right. To help hundreds of thousands of people, we were supposed to spend less than $7.4 billion. That means that Chuck Schumer and his co-conspirator, Nita Lowey, who sponsored this new coronavirus bill, they're telling us that because less than 45 people are sick, they need $8.5 billion to attack a problem which has affected less than 45 people here in this country. They need more than $1.5 billion more than the $7.4 billion that we were to put aside for the hundreds of thousands of people affected by the attacks on 9/11. Just think about that for a bit. To attack a problem that's affected hundreds of thousands, we're told we need to spend less than $7.4 billion. Now, to attack a problem that's affected less than 45 people, we're told we need to spend $8.5 billion. Now, again, at this point in time that I'm actually recording this, More than 230 people have been infected and 12 people have passed away. I seriously don't want to ignore that. But at the time that Schumer requested the money, less than 45 people had been infected. That's fucking weird to me. Now, I know I've already lost a whole lot of people because they can't believe how heartless I am to attack a program that we're told is designed to help sick people affected by a virus. But let's talk about another virus. There's another virus attacking people in this country, and it's called the influenza virus. Wait a minute. The flu? I know people are probably saying, well, how can you compare the flu to the coronavirus? Well, that's because I'm not an idiot, and I like to use this little thing called logic. All right? So just try to keep up, please. We're being told that the coronavirus is so scary because it's affected so many people in such a short time, and so we need to spend $8.5 billion attacking it. Well, let's look at the issues that the flu causes in our country. Now remember, at the time that Schumer requested our $8.5 billion, the coronavirus had affected 42 people in this country. Remember that. 42 people. All right, let's get back to the fucking flu. Between October 2019 and February 2020, around 45 people were infected with the flu. How much money is being requested to combat that? Around 40. Oh, wait, I made a mistake. How foolish of me. Sorry about that. I said 45 people? What a fool. I meant around 45 million people were infected with the flu. That's million with a capital M. Not 45 people, not 233 people, 45 million. Over 550,000 people had to be hospitalized. And get this, 46 people died from the flu. Oh shit, I'm sorry, there I go again. Another stupid mistake. I said 40 what? No. There were 46,000 deaths caused by the flu within 5 months, according to the CDC. 46,000. That's thousand with a lowercase t. Now, again, this isn't something to gloss over, and I'm sorry. I won't take this lightly, and I shouldn't make jokes. Thousands of people have died. I got to remember that. But I don't remember any huge panics about stopping this flu and politicians demanding that they receive billions of dollars to attack this problem. And that's because we all know about the flu already. You can't really drum up too much fear-inducing propaganda about a virus that we're already used to. But this new thing, this new coronavirus thing that no one's really heard of, well, they can work with that. Now let's compare these two things like we did with the 9/11 example. To attack the influenza virus, a virus that has affected millions of people within a few months, there's no huge expensive plans being enacted. And this problem has affected millions, again, in the span of a few months. Thousands of people have died. Tens of thousands of people have died within the span of a few months. But we don't have any expensive plans where we need to give emergency funds over to some shady people so that they can do whatever they want to do with the money. But when it comes to this new scary virus, the coronavirus, we need to spend billions to attack a virus that's affected a couple hundred people in a few months. That sounds a little fishy to me. I don't want people to think that I don't care about the people that were infected. Just try to use logic. It sounds a little weird that when you have tens of thousands of people dying within the span of a few months from a problem, you're not telling people that you need to give them all their tax dollars over to you so that they can attack the problem. But when a few people do pass away in a few months, this is a new virus. We got it. Give us all of your money now. If you don't, you may die. Let's try to scare you so that you give us all of your money so that we can do whatever the fuck we want with it. Are you still not convinced? All right, then. One last thing. Does anyone remember Howard Hughes? No? What about that Martin Scorsese movie called The Aviator? Great fucking movie, right? Well, I wanted to bring up Mr. Hughes because it helps bring into focus one of my reasons for calling these political bills heists. In the 1940s, Howard Hughes received $40 million from the American taxpayers. He received this money because we needed him to build aircraft for World War II. Now, I bring this movie up because it's one of the most recent movies to showcase what I'm about to talk about. There are others like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which is a great film starring Jimmy Stewart. But I'm going to bring this up because it's the most recent, and I also bring it up because it showcases two things. The first thing it shows is how corrupt politicians work with big business owners to create bills that enrich the business owner and the politician at our expense.
I've known Mr. Tripp for some time now, and that's not the question.
Is it not true that Juan Tripp donated $20,000 to your last campaign? I mean, he spoke to me as if you worked for him.
All right. I have a personal friendship with Mr. Tripp.
Is it not true that you accept free tickets from Pan Am so you can circle the globe in support of your CAB bill?
No, it is not true.
Well, who wrote that bill, Senator?
No, we're asking the
Who
questions
actually wrote the CAB bill, the actual words in the bill? Did you write them?
This is not how these hearings are going to be conducted, Mr. Hughes.
I have it right here. Maybe it'll refresh your memory. Bill S-987 to amend the Civil Aeronautics Act. Now, you introduced this bill to the Senate. A lot of words. You write all of them? Did you write any of them, Senator?
Now look, Mr. Hughes.
Now this entire bill was written by Pan Am executives and designed to give that airline a monopoly on international travel. And you've been flogging this bill all around the world on their behalf, have you not?
I have duties that take me all over the world, Mr. Hughes.
Well, what the hell does a senator from Maine need to visit Peru for?
I was seeking outlets for our trade goods.
Buy a lot of lobsters down there, do they? Senator Brewster, how many times have you visited Juan Tripp's office in New York in the last 3 months? Huh? Would you like me to tell you, Senator?
All right, this has gone on long enough. Juan Tripp is a great American. His airline has advanced the cause of commercial aviation in this country for decades. Juan Tripp is a patriot. Juan Tripp is not a man who's interested in making money.
Well, I'm sure his stockholders would be happy to hear that.
That happens all the time in our government. Big business owners will fund the campaign of a potential politician, give them donations and bribes. Then when that person actually becomes a politician and gets into our government, the big business owner will then write up their own bills and laws, bills that will benefit them and their businesses. They will then instruct the politician that they bribed and helped get into office to present that bill to Congress and get it turned into law. Or they'll instruct their new political employee to fight to overturn a law or policy that is preventing the big business from making money. The same way this politician, Catherine Pugh, rejected a livable wage bill that would raise the minimum wage for the citizens in her city. Then she was caught receiving bribes from companies like Kaiser Permanente. Oh, and now she's going to jail because she was being sloppy and she got caught receiving these bribes. Keyword is caught. If they do it right and don't get caught, they just keep collecting bribes and robbing us blind. Now, the second thing that the Aviator movie shows is this. There are many instances where our government will create a bill that takes our tax dollars and gives it to a business so that they can produce something. In many instances, like the one with Howard Hughes, the business doesn't deliver what they were paid for and they get to keep the money. Sounds like a great racket, right?
So by your admission in this chamber, Mr. Hughes, you have received $56 million from the United States government for planes you never delivered.
That is correct.
Well, excuse me for asking, Mr. Hughes, but where did all that money go?
See, the thing is, I care very much about aviation. It has been the great joy of my life. That's why I put my own money into these planes, and I've Lost millions, Senator Brewster, and I'll go on losing millions. It's just what I do. Now, if I've lost a lot of the government's money during the war, well, I hope folks will put that into perspective. You see, more than 60 other airplanes ordered from such firms as Lockheed, Douglas, Northrop, and Boeing never saw action either. In all, more than $800 million was spent during the war on planes that never flew. Over $6 billion on other weapons that were never delivered. Yet, Hughes Aircraft, with her $56 million, is the only firm under investigation here today. Now, I cannot help but think that has a little more to do with TWA than planes that did not fly.
So a big business owner can pay a politician to write a bill that gets turned into a law that says we have to take the money of our American citizens and give it to this business so they can do something for us. That basically means that a business can create a law forcing us to hire them. So the same way you hire someone to do something for you, like a car mechanic. Let's use that as an example. So let's say your car breaks down and you take it to the mechanic. The mechanic charges you $1,000 to fix it. You look at the bill and you see that you were charged $300 for the parts and $700 for the labor. That's $1,000. Even if it only takes the mechanic 5 minutes to do the actual work, you're paying them $700 for their time and labor. Hell, sometimes you got to pay them just so they can tell you what's wrong with the car. Just so they can look at the car and tell you what's wrong, you got to pay them. Same thing that goes with this coronavirus thing. If a drug company tells Congress that they'll charge us $100 million to work on a cure for the country, then that breaks down the same way the mechanic example did. Some money is used to pay the scientists who are doing the work, and some money is used to purchase any equipment needed to do the work. But the rest is all profit for the business. So if they're charging us $100 million to work on a cure, and they spend $50 million on the scientists and equipment, then the other $50 million is pure profit for the owners of that drug company. And get this, if they don't find a cure, they still get to keep the fucking money. They're just doing the research for the cure. If they can't cure it, well, they still have to pay for their expenses, right? So they'll get to keep the money. Technically, they don't have to do any real research. They can just say they did, pay their scientists, and keep the rest. Real cool racket, right? And look at that. In this new coronavirus bill that Mr. Schumer and Mrs. Lowey came up with, $3 billion will be used for what? Researching vaccines. Researching it? That's a whole lot of money being used, not necessarily to cure the disease, but just to look into it and see if we can find a cure for this thing. And there you have it, the perfect heist. A legal way to steal, billions upon billions to trillions of dollars from all of you, so that the politicians and a handful of rich people and their families, who are already rich, I might add, can make even more money. No flashy tricks, no suave pretty boys, just sick, demonic people who've used the naivete, the stubborn practice of ignoring the important things that happen around you, and the fearful, hateful, and racist, divisive nature of all of us to distract us and take advantage of our lives. Every week you spend hours working a job you hate. When you finally get your check, you see that a substantial amount has been withdrawn in the form of taxes. That money is supposed to be used to better your life. Your kid got real sick? That money can be used to help them get better. Wrecked your car and you have no way to get to work? Maybe that money can be used to help you get started with another vehicle until you get back on your feet. Hate your job and you want to move on to something better? Maybe that money can be used to help you get training in the field of your choosing so that you can enjoy your job and enjoy your life. Company you worked for moved overseas, laid you off, and now you can't pay your mortgage? Maybe that money can be used to help supplement your income until you get back on your feet so that you don't lose your fucking home. Why not? It's your money. You've been paying into it for years. That tax money can be used in so many ways to help you and your family when you really need it. Instead, we use it to make rich people richer. Now remember these people: Kevin Brady, Josh Hawley, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, and Nita Lowey. Lowy? I don't fucking know. Just a handful of people involved in these heists that are set up to rob you blind. Here are just a few examples of recent heists and the amount of money that each of them cost you. You got H.R. 1, which was basically an act to provide reconciliation for tax cuts on the wealthy. We all know what this one was. Rich people have it so bad that we need to give them your money. This one was introduced by Kevin Brady, and it cost you $2.3 trillion. What about H.R. 3401, the stupid Southern Border Act? This one says the border situation is so bad we need your money because Mexicans are scary. This one was sponsored by Nita Lowey. I don't know how to say this woman's last name. Sponsored by Nita. And this one cost you $4.6 billion. Last one, which is the one we're talking about. H.R. 6074. The stupid Coronavirus Appropriations Act. A few people are sick. Quick, give us all your money or you'll get sick too. This one was introduced by Chuck Schumer, I believe, and it looks like fucking Nita Lowey also sponsored this. She's been really fucking busy recently. This one is costing $8.3 billion, almost $8.5 billion. So it's time to wake up. Pay attention to what's going on. Stop focusing on hating your neighbor and figure out how to stop this crooked mess. Based on everything I just went over, how could you stop this? It's not that difficult, really. Let's quickly go over it again. Big business owners bribe and pay our politicians to create laws that benefit the big business owner and rob you. Once more, big business owners pay your politicians. The politicians then tax your paycheck and give that money to the big business owner. So how do you stop that? Well, if the big business owner can't afford to pay the politician, things would slowly get better. Okay, so how do we stop that? Here's an idea. Stop shopping. Stop giving the big business owners the money that they use to pay our politicians. They don't create this money out of thin air. When you go shopping on the weekend and you pump all of your money into these companies, they use that money to fund their politician bribery business. If a company wants to make it legal for them to dump poison in your drinking water, like the fracking companies who just knowingly dump trash into your drinking water, or the companies who are dumping all of their waste into your drinking water because they don't want to pay to dispose of it, well, they'll take the money that you give them and they will bribe a politician to have the law changed so that it's legal for them to dump poison into the drinking water of you and your children. If a company doesn't want to pay you more than $10 an hour, they'll bribe a politician and have the politician fight against a livable wage for the citizens of the country. If a company wants to save money by not paying taxes, they'll take the money that you give them and bribe a politician so that the politician can then make a law that cuts the taxes of the business at your expense. So as long as you keep blindly going out every weekend and pumping all your money into these companies, they'll keep controlling your lives through your government. So stop funding your own genocide. Stop shopping.